video games are for nerds. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about them. That's why you're listening to The Week in Gaming, the only gaming podcast that breaks down the last 7 days and tears games apart from the inside. Ugh. So forget your worries, open your ears, and join Simon Miller and a co-host for the entertainment chatter you need. Also, screw Dark Souls.
Hello and welcome to a very special and maybe a little bit unexpected for you listeners out there episode of The Week in Gaming. My name is Simon Miller and this is a podcast about gaming. Now, I do this thing on Patreon. You may know that all of my content is supported by patreon.com/Simon316, and I thank everybody every day for putting money into that, which allows me to create all this this stuff that I enjoy to do. And one of the tiers is you can come on my podcast. Now, most people come on, they want to be on the wrestling podcast. That's cool. I like it. I like the pro wrestling podcast. Drops every Wednesday and Friday. You can go check it out right now. But every now and then, someone comes on, that's something I want to be on The Week in Gaming, and that kind of excites me because it doesn't really happen that much. But, you know, there's loads of options when it comes to the crazy world of me, and that's why I'm pleased to say that we are doing a Patreon-fueled episode of The Week in Gaming today, and my man Chris is joining me. Chris, how are we today?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm good. I'm always happy, man. Always positive. I'm an obnoxious kind of guy. Now, a few things have happened since we did the Week in Gaming drops every Monday. We just stumbled across this, so please though go check out the rest of that now. And as we are in October, all the big games are dropping, and they're dropping quite early this year because they're all terrified of Red Dead Redemption 2, which, as I say these words, is out in 2 weeks. So we are going to talk about them in a little bit. Before we do that, you know, Chris, before you came on, we had a little chat. You very kindly have been watching me or listening, or whatever we want to call it, since my video gamer days. So just give me a quick crash course into, because I never really talk about this, like, I'm going to assume that you started playing games when you were a child. Most of us did. You're now a grown adult. What is it about video games that you still love? Because I'll be the first to admit, the way that I approach video games and my love, I say it all the time on The Week in Gaming, like, if anything was ever less than 12 hours, I'd be like, you kidding me? That's not worth my time. Whereas now, I guess because I'm a bit older, life's got a bit more hectic. To me now, the perfect video game, obviously if the mechanics are good and the execution is good, is around 6 to 8 hours, 10 hours tops. That's what I enjoy. I still play a game that's a bit longer than that, but that's why the likes of FIFA or Call of Duty or things like that kind of appeal to me nowadays, because I know they've got modes where I can, you know, almost get like an injection of fun, and then I can walk off into something else. So tell me sort of, you know, your favourite games, what got you into games, and today, the kind of things you look for, and yeah, basically how your video game love has evolved over these years.
Oh, God.
That is quite the question. That is quite the question, I'm not going to lie.
We were talking nearly 38 years worth of experience. When I started way, way, way back with like the VIC-20, it's like 1982, somewhere around there. It's a game called Paratroopers.
Right.
Really, really simple. It was just paratroopers for that sky. You shot them down with like a brick. That's what it looked like at the bottom. And that was it. And as a kid, I adored that. And then, you know, slowly went on, had all the computers near enough, ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, NES, Super NES, you know, the whole shebang. So I've been playing them for God knows how long. There's always go for like the gameplay. You know, the gameplay means a lot to me. Graphics, not so much. I mean, when the PlayStation come and they were showing, you know, all that Wipeout and things like that, it's like, yeah, that's pretty, but does it play good? Which luckily it did. Yeah, but I always go, gameplay always brings me back to a game. Like the indie games, I play a lot of the indie games because the graphics are sort of a secondary for them. They're more interested in doing a different mechanic or, you know, trying something completely different. And I enjoy that. I enjoy, because it does kind of remind me of, you know, the bedroom days when somebody sat there and they're just having an idea and then they program it and then they put it out to us. And then, you know, it was either hit or miss. You know, like Jet Set Willy. You know, who would have thought a game about getting so drunk the night before would be so huge? You know, it's the creativity, gameplay, stuff like that. Yeah, games nowadays, they're more like spectacles. You either have the like the big things like the CODs and stuff like that, where they have the big set pieces. Uncharted, you know, it's like, whoa, this is amazing. Or you have something like Bastion, or, you know, something like that, which is more about you going, oh, this is a clever mechanic, and enjoying yourself. So that's
No, I get that. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Like, I like good graphics. I think they're especially good when it comes to either driving games or games that come out with a new console. You know, when the PS5 comes out, for example, I know that it's a really good idea to have games that look amazing because that's going to get people involved. It just is. You know, straight away, your eyes see before anything else. So if something really appeals, you're like, oh man, I want to get involved in that. So I'm with you. I think that's why I've sort of gravitated towards indie games as well. Also because they're shorter experiences.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you say, I know this is an open question, so I don't mean like specifically, but what would you say is your favourite, give me some of your favourite games of all time, just to give an idea of which side of the field you fall on.
Favourite game? Mario World on the Super Nintendo, that's well up there. That game was, because it was literally pick up, put it down, pick up, put it down. You know, each level was short enough, but the game was expansive and huge. But then things like Dead Space, Resident Evil, Chucky Egg.
Oh, right. Right, so you jump all over the place, basically, then.
Oh, yeah. Chucky Egg is possibly one of the greatest games made of all time, in my opinion.
Why so? Sell that to people that have never played Chucky Egg. Because right now, what people are doing is they're going on the internet and they're searching for Chucky Egg.
Yeah, it's good. I'm repping Chucky Egg there. It's the first game I can think of, because before that was Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Which
it's very much like that. Yeah, if you know what Donkey Kong looks like, Chucky Egg looks very similar to that.
Yeah, like Donkey Kong still used the Space Invaders type of movement, but it's just from left to right, left to right. But Chucky Egg, the little chickens that you're meant to be picking up seed and eggs, and the chickens are chasing you around, but they had random patterns. So it was the first game I can think of that was actually like that, and then just everything else seemed to follow on.
My favourite thing about this is I don't know what my demographic for the week in gaming is, but I think it skews quite young. I imagine a lot of people now looked up Chucky Egg and they're like having aneurysms. They're like, they're used to things like Uncharted and Assassin's Creed, and they're looking at this bizarre, 2D spectacle that's like a mass with purple and green, and they're just like, what on earth is that? But I think it's fascinating going back to games like that, because it just goes I think it's so easy to forget. I think it's much like wrestling and maybe all forms of niches. We're very quick to criticise games today, and you're more than welcome to. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think if you feel like you spent money on something you want to criticise, but in terms of from a technological standpoint, it is amazing how far we've come when you look at something like that. And I've been playing Call of Duty this morning not this morning, but sort of this week, and you really do get an idea just how nuts it is, and how quickly everything changes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can remember the first Medal of Honor on PlayStation 1, which is where that all come from.
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at that now, and it's a mess. Like, so how did I even see anything that was happening on this compared to, I've got Black Ops 3, I haven't got the fourth one yet. But, that just beautiful to look at. It's just, and it's only like in the space of 10 or 15 years as well, that we've gone from blocky polygons to near enough photorealistic, that's crazy.
No, you're right. I mean, it absolutely is. No, we're not done. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get that jump from SD to HD again. Like, 4K is great. And I think once you get a 4K TV and you watch a 4K Blu-ray or whatever, you do go, flipping it, that looks good. But I don't think it has that same, holy shit, well, when you first went to HD. And I don't know what that jump would be. And I could be completely wrong. I don't know what I'm not very good when it comes to staying up to date with technology. But, yeah, I think if you're new to video games, or you weren't around in sort of that 2005 period, I guess, where the Xbox 360 and the PS3 came in, and all of a sudden we were doing HD gaming, because to me that was a real, it was so new then that I remember I got my Xbox 360 and I plugged it into my HD TV, which I was lucky to get. I used to work at Sony. I've told this story before. And at the end of every year, they would give away their old TVs for cheap because they didn't want, out-of-brand models sitting in the warehouse. So they'd give it away to their employees at discount first. So I was lucky enough to get an HD TV quite early. I didn't even realise that on the whatever, I assume you plugged it in by SCART. I can't remember what the hell you plugged it in by. I mean, it must have been HDMI. I don't know, whatever it was. You had to flick a switch on it to put it into HD. So I remember playing Oblivion for ages, going, well, I guess it looks all right. and then when I switched it, I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is utterly different. And kind of like, I was thinking, because now CRT TVs are dead. And, you know, there's a whole generation that will never understand the misery of both trying to get a CRT into your house and out of your house. Because those TVs were not like TVs today. They were heavy, and they were bulky, and they were a nightmare.
Yeah. You could use them for weight training, them things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, that was crazy. So, I mean, especially because you've sort of been gaming for a very long time. I mean, again, you go from Chucky Egg to say something like Oblivion or, I don't know, PGR3 or even Genji, whatever you want. When you first look at something like HD, do you appreciate it? Do you not appreciate it? Because, I think a lot of people, when these big changes do come along, it's not really something you think about, is it? You just kind of skirt on by a lot of the time. I mean, did you see it was going to be a new dawn for video games? What was your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's another loaded question there. It's like,
what was the first game you played in HD, if you can remember?
Oh God, it was actually my friend. He played. I think it was one of the Killzones.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm joking.
Yeah, I accidentally bought Killzone 3 and regretted that.
It's so boring. I'm sorry for people that like it. I am, but it's so, the one on PS4 as well. I wanted to rip my eyes out. It's so dull. I know. I'm sorry. If you love it, good for you. It's great, but it's terrible.
I'm with you on that one. It's a horrible game, especially this one. Got stealth mechanics that are completely broken. I'm going to hide in this bush and that man can see me from like 500 yards away. No, it doesn't work. It looked nice though. It's very pretty.
Look, they make really good games, and I think with they did Horizon Zero Dawn, didn't they? That was their next game. With that, I think they found their. I think they're much better at doing that type of game than they are first-person shooters. That one had a lot more personality to me than the Killzone game, which I just don't like. Shadowfall is just a boring game. Anyway, let's move on to to more up-to-date stuff. Now, we were talking about Assassin's Creed before we started. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to assume that you're an Assassin's Creed fan.
Converted, yeah.
Converted, right, good. Right, explain that to me straight away, because, again, old news for anybody that listens. I had to review Assassin's Creed, the first one, when I used to work on video game magazines. Hated it so much, I gave up the franchise and I've never gone back. Don't regret it. Never going to regret it. Not my type of game. I'm happy to never, ever even talk about them again, but I will, because I understand. And my original plan was to live stream this one as well, but that's a whole nonsense. We don't need to get into it. But yeah, what was... tell me your Assassin's Creed story.
I got Assassin's Creed, the first one, and hated it. It just... I didn't understand all the hype that was surrounding it. It was like, climb up this mountainside, jump onto the next bit, fall off, die, repeat. It was just the same thing. And it had this new mechanic, you can climb anything. It's like, and I don't really care. Same with the second one. The second one I got, because I just thought, everyone kept telling me, I'll get it, it's a better game. And I didn't even get off of the tutorial. You're supposed to chase your brother across the roofs, and I tried this 10, 12 times before I just went, do you know what? No, I'm done with this. And then I left them alone for a long time. And then again, my friend, he had Unity pre-patch as well. So I was sitting there watching that and laughing at all the little bugs and everything. But kind of, I looked at it and thought, okay, it seems to have moved on a little bit. Played it, hated that as well. The control system, it's just horrible.
It is horrible, and the combat was horrible, and the climbing was horrible, and the bizarre side missions were horrible, and the narrative was... I'm joking, I'm pushing it too much.
It was degenerate. I completely agree with you. The whole thing was just, this is a mess, don't like it. Ignored Syndicate entirely, and then I saw Origins, and straight away, Egypt. It was like, oh, okay, you've got my attention straight away with that place. No worries at all. Yeah, so I got Origins, took the plunge. It was like 50 quid, and I bought that and really thought, well, you better not screw me again. And straight away, the controls were better, the jumping mechanics, the whole, moving around up walls and things. You didn't fall off for no apparent reason. And they've expanded upon that in Odyssey. The combat slightly changed. You can see they're trying to put the good ideas that they had in like Unity and stuff like that, trying to now just push them into Odyssey as well. And you got like the boat combat and They're like the skill tree and all this sort of stuff. So it's just a much more expansive game. Odyssey is probably my game of the year at the moment as well. It's just, 25 hours of my life has been spent just playing that game, and I've not even realised that that amount of time has passed.
Wow, so it really has sunk its teeth into you then. But what? Because I haven't played it. I mean, I played Origins for a little bit. Why did they pick O's for both their subtitles? I played it for a little bit. And I was like, okay, I can feel like they've tweaked it and they've updated it, but it certainly didn't feel like they changed anything. I didn't feel any, and don't get me wrong, I'm obviously incorrect here because you've got much more experience with it than me, and you've already admitted you didn't like the past ones. But how long did it take you into your experience before you started realising, okay, they've actually done stuff here that appeals to me as a gamer? Clearly, even more so in Odyssey, they carried this on because maybe I'm just too biased. That happens with all kind of walks of life, right? But I play it and I cannot get my head around it. I don't see it. Like, you're talking to this now, and if I go and play it, which I will, I know I'll be like, it just feels like the first one. And it's me. I'm the problem. Clearly, it doesn't connect with me. But what, like for the combat, for example, what is it specifically they've done? What they take inspiration from? What they be influenced by? Like, because before I found the combat, it was especially what I played even in Origins. It just felt like I was never in control, or I never had the upper hand, and I was always on the back foot. But maybe that's just not me giving it enough time.
Yeah, I mean, the original ones, it was a button mash. You just tap X to kill. In Origins, it starts off and it's quite lenient on you. So you can just tap to kill people. Later on, they start getting shields, or they parry you away, and it becomes a bit of like a dance, really. And you try to use your the skills that you have as well to give yourself that upper hand. In Odyssey, they've sort of changed that around a bit. And made 3 specific trees, a bit like an online RPG, like World of Warcraft, that kind of thing. So you can have builds, which really changes things around as well. So if you're having problems with a place, like say being up the warrior tree and just trying to smack everyone around the head isn't working for you, then you can just change that to the hunter side, try and do it quietly with bows and arrows, or go to the assassin side and be even more quiet and sneaky, and try not to get anyone's attention at all. It's as I say, it's expanded on the original idea, and comparing where they are now to where they were, the 2 games are near enough. I mean, they've got the same basic premise of you go around, you murder people, and that's it. But the expanse between the 2 is much, much bigger. And the story's good as well.
What I wanted to talk about the story and the narrative. Why is the wrong word. The thing I always found a little bit problematic with the old games is that I never really found like the narrative. It always felt like side missions to me. It never really felt like an overarching story and kind of tied into everything else. What have they done to kind of combat that? Because you just said the story is better. I see that must tie them into the main narrative. So why? But what have they done? Sell it to me, basically. That's what I'm asking to do. Because again, clearly this is a franchise you've given a lot of time to, and it's won you over. So again, I think the story for me is a good thing. If I knew the story was good and I knew it had really varied missions, I know it does. I read. In fact, I'm going to get the article now, which I was reading the other day because it just came up. This is the headline on VG247. Assassin's Creed Odyssey lets you kill someone's mum and shag their dad to complete a side quest. Now, that's not necessarily something I want to do in a video game, but it did make me smile, and I was like, well, if you're going to have fun, have fun. So, like, what is it? Yeah, I mean, what is it? What is it that kind of won you over?
They turned it a little bit into Mass Effect, with the multiple choice speech that you can have, or you can go down the dark path or the balanced path, or sleep with everyone if you want. If the option's there, have sex with everyone.
I love that. That's the highlight. Well, I can just have sex with anybody that I want to.
There'll be like, either you pay me blah 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 jack money. It's I can see why some people are saying it's a bit dubious. So yeah, but it is ancient Greece, and they probably did do daft things out there. So
don't get me wrong, I don't mind that stuff at all. Like, Assassin's Creed is not trying to be historic at all, which actually may be something that kind of upset me to begin with, because I think that's what I wanted. I think there was a time when Ubisoft pitched as, oh, it's going to be really historic, blah blah blah. And maybe that's what I kind of wanted, but they went away from that. That's cool. But they're not doing anything bad. Like you said, they're tying into stuff that's familiar at the time, but also, you know, you can't take that stuff seriously. Like, it's ridiculous. It's silly. So no, I'm completely with you on that one. I just wanted to I don't want anyone to hear it and go, Simon thinks it's rubbish. No. I am completely cool with yes, I'm completely cool with them being silly with it. Like, I don't mind that. But yeah, anyway, so I keep going. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, that's just completely daft, and I love that about it. It's just, and some of the tone as well just completely goes out the window, which, you know, if it was trying to be a historical epic, you know, it's become Monty Python all of a sudden. You know, with there's a guy in a sauna, and he's just sort of trapped there by thugs. And I can't remember the joke entirely, but she asks, "Do you want me to go and kill all the thugs and that?" And then she gets confused. He thinks that she wants to kill the snakes, but yeah, I've completely lost the trail. But at the time, it was very funny.
No, I think that's important though. I would say, I don't want to be too harsh. I'm going to be too harsh. I would say that Assassin's Creed didn't really have much of a sense of humour, or at least I never found its sense of humour. Again, I know that I only really played the first one, so I'm sure it found it. But I think that was a big problem I had, again, with the single player. It just felt so boring and so laborious, and I don't want that in a video game. I want it to be fun. I want it to entertain me. It's one of the reasons I think I like Gears of War so much, is that Gears of War, it was ridiculous. Like, it just was.
It's like an 80s Arnie film.
Exactly, which, I'm not going to lie, I like Chris. I like those things a lot. I know it makes me a bad person, but I like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I do. So I actually think that's something that Assassin's Creed would benefit from. So what is your overarching mission in this one? I wouldn't, that's the wrong word, but what is the story? Tell me what the story is without obviously spoiling it for people that don't want it spoiled.
Okay. You're a Spartan. You get thrown off of a hill at the beginning, and then you're trying to find your mum and your dad. That's the overarching story. And then as you're doing that, shit happens. A lot of shit.
And who are you in this sort of grand? You're a Spartan, obviously, but are you an important Spartan? Are you a nobody? Like, what's your deal?
You're a Bithachos or something like that. You're an assassin, a mercenary, sorry. You can either be a boy or a girl as well, which is, I remember not that long ago, Ubisoft saying, we can't make girls, it's too hard. But they've kind of managed it now.
I remember that. That was redonkulous back then, and it's still redonkulous now. So I remember that though. Yes, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, but they managed it now, and it works perfectly fine. It's I can't really say much more without spoiling it. So that's the basic premise.
Okay, that's good to know. But so far, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you think it's the best Assassin's Creed game they've done. I'm going to guess that you would think that.
Yep, definitely. I'm kind of hoping that they're not going to sort of churn them out again, because if they do, eventually it'll fatigue and end up like Syndicate all over again, and no one will care. If they take another 2-year break and then go and do, hopefully, there's something like Turkey or Russia, that would be amazing. This is the best thing they've done so far.
What about if they took it? Because the thing I always wanted is I kind of always wanted something like them. It's going to be difficult because people get upset. I personally wouldn't. But if they took it into sort of the 40s or the late 30s and did something on World War II, I think that'd be really interesting, personally. But what do you think about something like that? I mean, you've got a better idea of the mechanics to me. Is that something you're actually able to do in the Assassin's Creed universe, or do you think it just, wouldn't work at all?
I don't know. I definitely think, they could pretty much, with what they've got now, go in any direction. They could do a modern one if they wanted, but they'd just be Watch Dogs. But yeah, I mean, they could go in any direction. I think, they're sort of heading across over towards the east, so I think we're going to end up with China and places like that eventually. But I also hope that they change the setting entirely. We've got loads of ancient stuff now. Let's go to the 30s. Can you imagine like Chicago 1930s with an assassin running around across the roofs. That would be amazing.
No, it would, and I think because the setting is what is going to get me back in at some point, which is why I think I will play Odyssey, because I just love that setting. I just think it's cool. So I can imagine eventually that I will tap into that, but I think it needs to be something really, really good. But talking to good people like yourself does get me intrigued. I think I will play Odyssey. I think I'll stream it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com, so the Miller Report rules, cheap plug. I do think I'll give it a go. I'm just worried I'm not going to like it again. That's my big worry. Like, that I'm just going to play it and go, I can't, because everyone's got one, right? Everyone's got a big AAA game they just can't get on with, and Assassin's Creed quickly became mine. Now, look, you've done a very, very good job in selling Assassin's Creed, I feel. If Ubisoft listen to this, they're going to be really pleased. But just so other people get an idea of kind of where you fall when it comes to video games, because like I said, I reviewed WWE 2K19 recently, and somebody got in touch with me and they said, I'm surprised by this. I didn't like last year's game. So I was quick to tell them, look, man, I did like last year's. So maybe it's best you don't actually listen to my opinion, because we may fall on very different sides of the fence. So what else have you played in 2018? Like, what's been your highlights? What's been your lowlights? Just tell me, basically, what's that? How's your gaming year shaped up?
I sort of stream with a friend every so often. We played Resident Evil 6, which is
weird, right? It's a weird video game.
Yeah, it's crap, but it's good. Again, it's an 80s film in game form.
Yeah, you're right.
You sit there, and I mean, we're up to Chris's section. We did the other two, and we're just constantly laughing as we're playing. It's just, what's going on? Why is that happening? Why is that person there? What are you doing?
I think that kind of sums up the whole everything's better with co-op. Because I have played Resident Evil 6, and I spent the whole time going, what the hell? What is this? This doesn't make any sense. I don't think it's a bad game. I just think it's a very misjudged game. But I think that is such a huge selling point for, co-op is such an important, I mean, it always has been. But in 2018, it's just... it's be all and end all. Like the fact you can take a game that everyone knows is bad from more than a few years ago now, but actually realize, oh no, it's not so bad, just because of that you can play it with a mate. But we'll put that one to one side because I feel like that's a bit of an asterisk. What else has 2018 thrown your way?
Dead Cells. It's the side-scrolling. What's it like? Castlevania, a bit of Dark Souls. Yeah, but that really got me for a while as well. I'm actually stuck on the very last boss. It is hard as balls. It's ridiculous.
That's one way to put it. I like it. What about AAA games? Because I feel like Assassin's Creed fits. I mean, let's put it this way: are you going to play Call of Duty? Comes out today. Are you excited about Red Dead? Are you a FIFA guy? I'm trying to think what else has come out this year. Let me look at. I mean, Zelda, for example. I mean, what kind of stuff have you been playing recently that's really been considered top stuff?
Well, Legend of Zelda, that's a sore point for me.
Let's talk about it, because Sam and I on the weekly gaming show have made our opinions known. I think it's a tremendous game, but it's not for me. Different to Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed genuinely pisses me off. Zelda doesn't piss me off, but I don't get it. Sam's with me. Sam played 10 hours. He hit a wall. He's like, I don't want to play this anymore. I feel like it is a bit of a subjective thing with a lot of people. Where go on, this is your stage, man. This is your platform. Talk to me about Zelda. Why is it a contentious issue?
It's everyone that I've spoken to says that it's one of the greatest games ever made, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's not to coin a phrase, but it is a 6 out of 10 game. It is just above average in my opinion. It's got. The only reason it is where it is and made as much money as it did is because it has got Link in it and the name Zelda. If it was something else entirely, no one would even look at that game. It'd be like your weapon breaks every 3 hits. Really, you can't climb up the mountain, without falling off of the thing. Die every 3 seconds. It's pretending to be Dark Souls. No, thank you. But because it's got the Zelda name attached to it, everyone bought it, and obviously those people that are enjoying it, good for them. Games are about enjoyment and everything. Find it in that, fantastic. But it's like, I'll just go back to Dark Souls and go and swear at that for 20 minutes and play this again.
Dude, you just said that Breath of the Wild should be a 6 out of 10. You're gonna be killed.
I've said it many times.
I wasn't even allowed to say I didn't like it that much, and everybody went nuts. I like you, Chris. You're all right. Now, you brought up Dark Souls independently. Let's talk about Dark. I can't tell if you like Dark Souls or not, because it's the second time you've mentioned it. Do you like Dark Souls?
I'm a convert. Again, the same with the SNC.
Wow, so someone else got... Okay, well, so, I respect you, man. You're not like me. If I hate something, I'm like, fuck you, I'm out of here. Whereas you actually sit down and go, okay, I'm going to stick with it and see if I can get into it.
I played Demon's Souls, first of all, and I never got past... There's like a set of steps at the beginning. Never got past that. And my friends, they kept raving about this game. And I was like, it's a stairs simulator. I've never got past this.
Oh, dude, it's a shame this story ends with you saying you like Dark Souls or things. I hate it, but that's brilliant. Stair simulator is excellent. But sorry, continue, my friend.
And then I got Dark Souls because I got told, it's a better game. So, okay. I kind of like the setting. That's the problem. It's like, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And I got past like the demon in the bin, whatever he's called, got into the main world. I've never got any further than just that bit of main world. Just you go around a corner every so often, and there'd be someone with a massive hammer. It's one hit you.
Oh, I hated it. I hated it. I still hate it today. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just put that down and said, no, it's not for me. But again, one of my friends, he's playing Blood Bowl, and I was watching that, and the setting, really caught my imagination. And I went out and bought it straight away, and for about a month, maybe a month and a half, hated the game, hated myself for playing the game. But then suddenly something just clicked. And, it's like, oh, I can just dodge around this guy, I can do this. And then just realised, okay, some of what's happening to me is my own fault. Trying to treat this as if, how would I, I'm in this kind of situation. Would I really walk through that door, just walk through it? Or would I roll through, turn around, scream, at everyone? So that is exactly, so you do that in the game, and suddenly I knew you was hiding behind that door, and you'd murder him, and then I got Dark Souls 3, steamed through that so quickly, and then I got 2, steamed through that, went back to Dark Souls 1, I'm near the end of that as well, but everyone was telling me, it's the hardest game in the world. So no, it's just really unfair. You've got to be unfair to it. So I know your little tricks, and just go against its own brain, and suddenly you're godlike within that world. So I kind of see, what the Dark Souls fans are crazy for their game. I kind of see, where they're coming from with that, because once you're in there and you know how everything works, and you hear someone else going, "Oh, I can't do this," and you want to say, "Get good" to them, which is the worst thing.
Dude, that is the worst thing. I'm not going to lie, man. I think genuinely, I'm not just saying that because you're on here, that is one of the most elegant ways anybody's described Dark Souls ever. And I think it's because, I don't mean it's horrible, but a lot of people I talk to about it are assholes. They just are. They're just assholes. But they don't actually talk to you about it. They just shit all over it. Now, don't get me wrong. What you have said is not enough to get me back in. It's just I know I want to play that game again. But I actually think the way you described that is what a lot of people are trying to say when they talk about those games. And you're 100% right. And I love the fact that you. I think honestly, man, I think it's wonderful that. I know I'm talking about a majority here. I mean, a minority here, but they are very vocal. And obviously, a lot of people that. Play video games are quick to judge, and they're quick to, they're quick to undermine things and say that's not for me. But I really respect the fact that now, on 3 different occasions, you haven't liked something, but you've given it the time, and you can actually talk intelligently about it. I think that's awesome, especially something like Dark Souls, which is horrendously hard to crack down. That is the whole point of the game. Like you said, the idea is to teach yourself. It's almost a bit like real life, and I shouldn't just walk through a door and be surprised when something, when something happens to me. Was it Bloodborne mostly that kind of helped? Because I played Bloodborne all the way through, and why it still frustrated me, and it still wanted me to rip my own eyes out. I certainly got a better idea of why people warmed to those games. I thought it was much better than the other ones that I played.
Yeah. I'll still go to. I've completely finished Bloodborne, but I'll still go back there just to challenge myself from some of the creatures. The mechanics of it are just spot on. It's so pixel perfect. Everything is just. Everything about that game is beautiful, but for the first month, I could have eaten the CD. It was
so good, man.
It's just one of those. It just grew on you. It's like an annoying child. It's just there constantly going, play me, and then you go, all right, I'll do that, and then it kicks you in the shins, And then eventually the child grows up and then buys you a pint, and you're like, oh, you're all right. Nothing wrong with you. Yeah, that's probably the best analogy for Bloodborne.
Did you finish it?
Yeah, completely finished that.
Wow, so what about what's your Dark Souls sort of method?
Mainly sort of take when you don't know an area, go very slowly around the edges is what I would usually do, and then sort of try not to engage anyone and go, okay, and then just steam through it as quickly as I can, because it's like, if I can find the other bonfire on the other side, then I'll just walk back to that, and then I can just take my time. So I think that takes away all the angst of, you've gone so far, and you've gone round the corner, and someone smashed you over the head, and you've died, and then you've got to go all the way back to where you started. But if you know that you've got that other bonfire, you've found that, and you go and get that, and then you can just die freely, and it just makes it all the less frustrating, in my opinion. But that game is all about frustration. It's teaching you about life.
I'm not accepting that one, dude. You don't. It just teaches me that life is a horrible, horrible place. Now I'm only winding you up. So what have you finished all of them as well?
The only one I haven't done is Dark Souls.
All right.
Stuck there.
But that must be quite hard, right? Because you've done 2 and 3, and now going back to that is going to be a bit difficult, isn't it? Because I imagine the games have enough tweaks and updates that when you do go back, it feels like a different game.
Yeah, it's a bit. You can tell it's older, and then some of the bosses you can like Dark Souls 2. The bosses there are kind of copying Dark Souls 1 bosses, because they realised that the amount of effort that they put into that and to balance them just enough that they seem impossible, but they can be beaten. Whereas in Dark Souls 2, they'll just do something that's completely ridiculous, and you need to see that 2 pixel-sized indicator that he's going to do the ridiculous thing before he kills you. But in the original Dark Souls, that indicator isn't there. It's not like a flash or anything like that. It's an actual movement. And so you're dying a lot on certain bosses, because I'm used to different kinds of indicators that they put into the newer games, and the older one is something I just get smashed over the head. And that's not the game's fault, it's my fault, because I'm not learning what I should be doing with that creature.
I think you're too kind. I think it's the game's fault. I play Dark Souls for everything. Look, honestly, dude, genuinely, no word of a lie. If anyone ever talks to me about Dark Souls again, I go talk to my man Chris. He's the only person that I'll now accept talking about Dark Souls, because he put it so eloquently. Looking forward to the rest of the year, what are you excited about? I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 seems to be a contentious issue. I saw an amazing stat earlier that apparently, let me find it actually, because I don't want to misquote it. I had it up and now I've closed it down because I'm a moron. Where was it? It was about, but basically I can't find it. If I do, I'll read it out. But it was basically how at the moment there's more anticipation for for Black Ops 4 than there is for Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, this was just a survey or something like that. I think Nielsen did it, if I can recall the article I read. So this is they may have even surveyed the wrong people. Like a survey, especially in this day and age, can be troubling to say the least. But I mean, I can't wait for Red Dead Redemption 2. It's my most anticipated game of the year. I am going to play Call of Duty because I want to see what they've done with the Battle Royale mode. For ages, I've been intrigued to see what a AAA developer could do with that, because obviously Epic and whatever the PUBG people are called are doing so well. Is that on your list of things you want to play? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I mean, basically, what's your opinion on Rockstar? Because again, they're divisive too. A lot of people really don't like Rockstar games, which I find a bit crazy. I understand. Let me rephrase that. I understand people not liking a Rockstar game, but I find that sometimes people just shit all over Rockstar's games. I'm like, look, I get you don't have to like it, but I still think you've got to appreciate how good this is. Like, it's not a bad video game. The amount of money they put into it, if nothing else, it has, gives it a certain something. But yeah, what's your take on it all?
Yeah, Rockstar. I mean, I remember Grand Theft Auto the first time around. Oh, they did Lemmings when they were DMA Design.
I remember that too. I liked that game.
Yeah, so I've followed them quite avidly, because they always come up with these amazing ideas. There's a game they did nobody really knows of called Hired Guns, which was a game on the Amiga, which was like kind of a first-person shooter, but more like Dungeon Master, like that clicky, flicking screen. But you had 4 screens, 4 characters that you could control all at once. And they all had different weaponry, and they all had different skills, and well before its time. So when they went off and they did Grand Theft Auto, I was just like, well, it's what I expect from Rockstar. They're always they keep taking the ante and then just upping it and upping it and upping it all the time. So I'm expecting Red Dead 2 to be, a next step. And the only other thing that may actually challenge it for the open world, how well that's done, could possibly be Cyberpunk or something like that.
Yeah.
Because that's two powerhouses of the open world, releasing games quite close to each other. Though I think we won't see Cyberpunk until PS5. I've got a feeling that's going to end up on there.
I think you're right. Yeah. I totally agree with you. So, in terms of the original, what are you, more of a Grand Theft Auto guy? You're more of a Red Dead Redemption guy, or you don't really care? You just think Rockstar are, they do what they do.
I'll pretty much buy anything they'll do. I won't buy it straight away though. I'll let the patches happen, because you should always let the patches happen with these bigger games. Let them fix the problems. So, because that'll just put me off. If my horse suddenly grows 12 legs and flies into the sky or something.
But how do you feel about that? Because obviously you've got the experience, man. You remember when you just got a SNES and you flicked a button and everything was okay. You blew in the cartridge every now and then. What do you make of this world now where, you got to wait for a day one patch and microtransactions and, all this. Like today, whenever I started playing Call of Duty, I forgot I hadn't been on PS Plus for a while. So, I've already dropped money on a game, then it goes, you owe us £7 more if you want to play, especially Black Ops 4. Unless you want to play in offline lobbies, you can't do shit on Black Ops 4. There's no single player. Like, personally, I'm like, well, look, I know the business model before I buy in, so whatever. It's kind of my decisions to understand. But yeah, what's your take, man? I mean, I really do agree with this. I know a lot of people disagree with me. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I do agree that some people implement microtransactions badly. EA did it awfully in Battlefront 2. But ultimately, it's a business. And it's up to me as a consumer to decide whether I want to buy into that or not. But a lot of people have more aggressive opinions than that. So I just wanted to get your take on that too.
Yeah, I mean, you said it once before, vote with your wallet. And I've always been like that. If the game, like Dead Space 3, that had microtransactions in it, I still bought it. I knew they were there. I just never engaged it. It was like, I'm just going to play the game normally. I know that they've added a little bit of grind to it, which is what they do a lot. They've done this in Odyssey as well, added the grind. And also on one of their screens, okay, you pay £7 and we will give you 50% extra XP. It's like, okay, that's there if you want it, but I'm going to play the game vanilla. Microtransactions, it depends on the game. Some of it does seem very predatory, but other times, think games like Warframe, the microtransactions in that are balanced perfectly.
A lot of people say good things about Warframe. I only ever heard good things about Warframe.
Yeah, I'm 300 hours into that game.
Well, there you go. There's more. There's more. Yeah. There's more positivity about it. That's incredible, man.
Yeah, this is one of those games: pick up, put down, pick up, put down. People play it for hours and hours on end. I did when I first started. Now it's my Warcraft now. Just go back there, do the little daily bits, turn it off, go and do something else. And it never gets boring. There's always something to do in there.
Yeah.
And all the and I'd say about 90% of everything that it has on its storefront, you can go and get yourself, and it doesn't lie to you and say it's going to be easy. It's like, no, if you want that thing, it's either 12 quid or spend 2 hours grinding for that, and you can then make the decision yourself. It doesn't force you into it. The only time is for community-made stuff. That can only be bought, but that's because that money is going directly to the person that made that thing. So it's like you're supporting that artist. So that's, that to me is non-predatory, because it's like, if you like that what that person's done, pay them for their art.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. But like I say, Warframe is like, I never hear a bad word about it. Everyone just says, well, apart from that, a few people are crazy. But other than that, so you're basically, you don't feel, I don't want to phrase this too, it sounds like a loaded question. I don't mean it that way. But you don't think all these changes in 2018 that has come up kind of ruins video games? Because a lot of people do. A lot of people think, especially with Assassin's Creed, going back to that, a lot of people think the microtransactions did that utterly ruin the video game and sort of push people to spend money they shouldn't have to spend otherwise.
Yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from. If, it does affect the game, like the reviewers that I've read about that game, they said, it takes X amount of hours to do something, and but then looking at Odyssey and Origins, I mean, I got to exactly the same level that I am now in Odyssey and Origins all at the same time, 25 hours in. So, and there's nothing, I've not run out of anything to do. I don't know how far into the story I am. I'm assuming probably somewhere in the middle. So I've got another 25 hours, and I don't feel I need to delve into that. Some people may not like the fact that you're not leveling up, every 20 minutes or something, and that's there for them. That's what the transactions are for, and the shop front here is huge. It's got loads and loads and loads and loads of things in there, and I can see how that looks. Like, so look at the shiny, but it's hidden away. You don't have to go in there. You can just leave that alone. The game works perfectly fine without it. It just lasts a bit longer. And then a lot of people complain that games can be too short. So, well, this is at least 50 hours. It's £1 an hour for this game. That's to me value for money.
No, dude, I can't argue with you there, man. I personally agree with you. That's exactly how I see it as well. And also, I try not to get too stressed about stuff like video games. Life's too short. I don't know. I don't want to go down that path. I think it would just make me sad. So before we do start to wrap up, man, I got one question for you, and you can you can say you don't want to give one. You can give me a few, but I like to do questions like that. I think they're always fun. What would you say your favorite ever console was in general? Like, if you had to go to a desert island, and there's only one console you could take with you, what would you go with? I mean, mine is the SNES. I always say that, or a Game Boy Advance. Either's fine with me. I love both of them, but what would you choose?
Yeah, mine's the SNES as well.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. It's always the SNES. The SNES is the best.
There's so many games in that. They're just brilliant. Star Fox, Super Mario's, all the Marios. I'm on the spot now trying to think. Street Fighter, all the Mortal Kombats, they're untouched. They were bloody glorious. You had like all the little niche games like Vortex, Diddy Kong Racing. I think Diddy Kong was on there. Donkey Kong Country definitely was.
Yeah, it was.
But it's just billions and billions of games you could play. As long as I could take all the games with me, I'm more than happy.
I love it, man. And if you had to pick one game on the SNES as well, I'd always take Link to the Past. Link to the Past would always be my game.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's between that and Super Mario Land.
Yeah, it's fair. You can't go wrong with that. Always go back to those kind of stuff. Did you see that on the Switch, if you signed up to their Nintendo Online service, you got a brand new version of the original Zelda where they unlocked everything when you start off?
No, I don't actually own a Switch. I play my friend's Switch instead. I let them pay for it.
Damn right.
I'll get one eventually, but I'm actually saving up more for the PSVR. Because the stuff that's coming out on that now at the moment is looking better and better and better.
I love VR, man. I think VR is still underrated. I think it's absolutely awesome, that thing. But yeah, definitely tell your mate if he signed up to the online thing to go in that you can download. I think it's called. I'll tell you what it's called. I'm going to find it right now. If I type in Zelda Switch, it will tell me, I'm sure. Yes, there it is. It's called Zelda. Oh, come on, internet, stop this. It's called Zelda. I get there. Living the life of luxury, and it certainly seems like Nintendo's going to start releasing classic versions of their old games, but basically with cheat modes unlocked, so you can just go in and enjoy them, and explore. So I can't wait for that. I love Nintendo. They're brilliant. Look, Chris, that was awesome. That was a genuinely awesome chat. You've talked about two games I absolutely hate, Assassin's Creed and Dark Souls, and you made it damn interesting. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, more than welcome, man. It's been a pleasure being on the show.
Oh, thank you, man. And anything you want to plug or pimp out?
Me and my mate will be doing a podcast at some point.
What's it called, man? You haven't got a name?
I haven't got a name yet.
Okay, well, what you do is this, man. When you've got a name, you get in touch with me through the Patreon, best way, or over Skype now. Let me know the name, and I'll make sure to mention that on the Week in Gaming so we can get it out there.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
No, dude. Honestly, man, you've got a wonderful take on games. Interesting, different, and you put your points across so well. That was great. I really enjoyed it, my friend.
Cheers. Yeah, me too.
No worries. And like I say, I call it the usual. That's not the right term at all. But the next episode of The Week in Gaming will drop on Monday. We'll be talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 4, which I have played and have some interesting opinions on. In the meantime, come follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SimonMiller316, YouTube.com/The Miller Report Rules, where you can watch a podcast should you wish. And yes, Patreon.com/SimonMiller316 is what brings all this together. Thank you very much for listening to this special episode of The Week in Gaming. I had a really good time, and I will talk to you again very soon.